The cleaner. Jessica's house looked deceptively small from the outside, just like every other home on the quiet little street. Quaint, even charming. If you were just passing by, you'd never suspect a thing. But the second I stepped through the front door, I knew this job was going to be anything but simple. The door wouldn't even open all the way. Boxes, cardboard, and plastic were stacked high behind it, crammed with papers, bags, old clothes, maybe years' worth of life shoved into chaos. For a split second, I considered waiting for the others. Maybe regroup, maybe go back to the van and pretend I never made it inside. But I knew if I didn't start, no one else would. I squeezed through the narrow opening and into the entryway where I found myself surrounded, no, trapped, by towers of clutter. They loomed over me like crooked monuments to forgotten things. The path twisted, barely shoulder width, forcing me to shuffle sideways just to keep going. I could feel the weight of the house pressing in. There were 5 of us hired to clean out Jessica's home. She'd been missing for 8 months now. I didn't know her, didn't know her family, but I'd heard whispers. The police hadn't found a single lead. Never even bothered to search the house, which, after 2 minutes inside, felt like a crime in itself. My employer had made it clear if we found any planners, notebooks, electronics, anything personal, it was to be set aside and reported immediately. No questions asked. Eventually, I made it to what must have been the living room. The space opened just enough to breathe. A sagging couch and a dusty recliner sat stiffly in the corners. A sofa table was half buried under junk. Against the far wall, an old fake fireplace with a single ornament on the mantel, a miniature ship in a bottle. Everything wore the same coat of fine gray dust, like time had forgotten this place. I sighed. Nothing could leave this house until I cleared the front door path. So I got to work, dragging and stacking boxes in the living room to make space. As I turned, I happened to glance down at the recliner. There, clear as day, was a dust-free imprint on the seat, as if someone had just been sitting in it. I blinked. Had I noticed that before? Maybe one of the other workers had shown up and taken a break without saying anything. I called out, listening for footsteps, voices, anything. Silence. I snorted to myself, trying to shake the creeping feeling. Maybe the new guy came in, took one look around, and ran for it. Wouldn't blame him. I kept going. Eventually, I cleared a decent path to the front door. Just had to move the last few boxes stacked behind it, and then maybe, just maybe, the rest would go smoother. I thought about taking a break. My supplies were still out in the van anyway, and I'd barely even started cleaning. I navigated through the maze and found the kitchen. It was in better shape than expected. After a bit of rummaging, I found a rag and some cleaner and returned to dust off the recliner. The second I looked up, my heart stopped. The path I'd cleared to the front door? Gone. In its place stood a solid wall of boxes, stacked impossibly high, reaching toward the ceiling, pressed tightly together. Not even a sliver of light passed through. My breath caught in my throat. There was no way I'd taken that long. I would have heard someone moving them, felt the shift in the floor, shift in the U. I hurried over, trying to peek through the gaps. Nothing, just cardboard. I yanked out my phone, no signal, of course. I cursed and sat back down in the recliner, hands trembling. I tried to focus. Get a grip. Just rest a second, then move the boxes again, that's all. My eyes landed on the bottle atop the fireplace mantel. The ship inside it looked like an old pirate vessel. The sails were dark red, almost like they'd been dipped in blood. As I stared, I could have sworn the water beneath the tiny ship began to ripple. Slowly at first, then faster, harder. The ship rocked, crashing against invisible waves. And then voices. Faint but rising, shouts, screams, a chaotic orchestra of panic. I blinked, shaking my head. When I looked again, the bottle was still, the ship was still. But outside, the sky was dark. Had it really been that long? I stood and approached the bottle, reached toward it. A crash rang out from behind. Boxes tumbled from a hallway I hadn't explored yet. My skin crawled. I turned, moving toward the sound. The hallway was narrow, with box-lined walls and cleared doorways. Bedrooms, maybe. I hesitated. I could just go back, start moving the boxes by the door, leave this whole place behind. But something kept pulling me forward. The first room was just another mess. Stacked boxes, rotting furniture, nothing worth noting. Then I stepped into the room across the hall. This one was neater. A bed sat pushed against the wall, and in the far corner, a chair, a sheet draped over it. Something was under the sheet. I held my breath and stepped closer. My hand reached out, hesitant. I pulled the sheet away. And there he was. The new guy. Mouth gaped open, eyes wide, empty, lifeless. Just sitting there, staring. I screamed and stumbled backward, tripping over a pile of junk. I scrambled out of the room, crashing into the hallway, boxes falling with me in a deafening roar. I barely managed to crawl into the living room, lungs burning, heart pounding. That's when I saw him. A figure, translucent, pale, almost glowing. A sea captain. His long coat hung open, revealing a massive, gaping wound in his chest where a heart should have been. He raised a sword and pointed it at me. Then another scream. I couldn't tell if it was mine. Boxes exploded outward at the front door, toppling over like dominoes, and standing there, framed in the chaos, was a woman. Jessica. I knew her from the pictures. Her face was twisted in panic. Her mouth moved silently, over and over. Run! I didn't hesitate. I leapt to my feet, dodging boxes and rubble, and flung the front door open with everything I had. The final stack of boxes collapsed inward. I dove through the threshold, tumbling onto the porch and into the front yard. The air outside was still, quiet. Behind me, Jessica's house stood perfectly still under the early rays of dawn. The front lawn bathed in golden light. From the street, it looked like any other house. Just a perfectly normal little home.